I look absolutely vampiric, but that's fine. It's spooky season. Hello everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my book haul. I don't want to say it's a monthly book haul because this is all the books that I've accumulated since June, so yeah, it's more than just an October book haul, luckily, so I don't look that bad. Yeah, I look pretty bad, it's fine. We will start with manga and comics because that's pretty easy. So first up in the manga category, I have Yona of the Dawn. I have volumes 31 and 32, and this is just me collecting Yona the Dawn as it comes out, like I do every month since it's been released. I've been in love with this series since I found the anime in like 2014, 2015, and it's just one of my favorite shoujo series of all time. It's a fantasy series about a young girl who is coming into her own, making friends, taking vengeance. It's fantastic. And then I also got 35 in Japanese. I was in Kinokuniya and I, was going through the Japanese section, and I like to collect different versions sometimes. I have Aoharu Ride in its original Japanese because I never thought it would be translated. I have a volume of Gakuen Alice in French. I just think it's fun, so I have this now. I might collect some more, I don't know. And then as far as other commemorative volumes, I also got the final volume of Haikyuu, which is volume 45. I have the first volume. I honestly haven't read super far into the series. I am mostly an anime watcher for the series, but I wanted this final volume to kind of commemorate my love of Haikyuu, and I love how the final volume mirrors the first volume. Maybe I will end up picking up the entire series of reading it. Who knows? But for now, I at least have this commemorative volume to commemorate my love of the Haikyuu show. And then I also got Jujitsu Kaizen, which I have read the entirety up to the Killing Game arc. I think the author came off their hiatus in the end of July, so I haven't read since their hiatus, and I'm very nervous to read now because who knows what's going on. But Jujitsu Kaisen is a paranormal fantasy shonen, urban fantasy, I guess, supernatural fantasy, dark fantasy. There's a lot of different things that could be categorized as, but basically it's about this young boy who accidentally eats part of a curse, and he has to go to school for magicians or like curse wielders. And I love it. I love the anime, love the series. It's insane, but it's great. And then finishing up the manga and comic section, I also have the T-Dragon Tapestry by Kay O'Neill, and this is a graphic novel picture book kind of deal, and it is the third and final book in the T-Dragon Society series. This final volume follows a couple of the characters that we've met throughout the series, and I really love this volume. It's really about finding your place, figuring out how to move on and how to succeed in life, what success really means, and I really like it. Let's get into the books, which there are a lot of. First and easiest to get into, I will go over the Octavia Butler books I bought. I recently did an Octavia Butler vlog. I've been doing a series on my channel where I read different authors and try to read a lot of their works, and September, I think it was, I was doing Octavia Butler, and I really enjoyed it. If you don't know, Octavia Butler is a very well-renowned sci-fi speculative author. Although she has unfortunately passed on, her work has remained very important and influential in the genre, and so it was really fun to read her. So for that vlog, I read Parable of the Sower, which is a post-apocalyptic novel. I read Dawn, which is an alien sci-fi, first contact kind of sci-fi. And then I also read Kindred, which is probably her most well-known novel, which is about a woman who is time traveling back into the antebellum South, into slavery. And then this last month, I also decided to go back to Octavia Butler and pick up Parable of the Talents, which is the concluding novel in the Parable of the Sowers series. So I've talked about these in a wrap-up, I've talked about these in my vlog video, and then I will be talking about this in my wrap-up next week. But I have a lot of love for Octavia Butler, and I think she deserves more love here on BookTube. I think first I'm just going to attack the books that I have already read, and then we can get into books that I haven't read. But as far as books that I have read and I will be talking about again in my next wrap-up, I have 2 books from the Wayfarer series. I have A Close and Common Orbit, and I have a record of A Spaceborne Few. And this is book 2 and book 3 in the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. This is like a hope sci-fi, I think that's what it's called. They're kind of like slice of life stories that are set in space with different characters. These are companion series, so sometimes you see familiar faces, but they are all their own stories, which I really, really love and appreciate. And yeah, I will talk about these later. This book follows an AI which we have previously encountered in the previous series, and this follows the original Earth and Space Fleet and kind of the remnants of the people that live there, and it follows like a bunch of different perspectives. But again, I will talk about this series later. Getting into some YA I have recently read, I have Redemptor by Jordan E. Fuego. This is the second and final book in the Ray Bear series. And so this is the sequel to Ray Bear. So in Ray Bear, we have a young girl named Tracy, and she has this mysterious figure that's kind of raised her called the Lady, who has basically raised her to kill one person and get revenge for her. We're kind of following that journey as Tracy goes undercover to sneak into this secret royal society. But it is so much more than that. I highly recommend the series. It's really fresh and different than a lot of other YA series in how it approaches those kind of cliche tropes, and I really, really love this. I also have Legendborn by Tracy Dion. This is another like urban supernatural fantasy novel, and this is following the main character Bree, who has recently lost her mother in a tragic accident, but who is going away to this special college high school program, and there she discovers magic and a secret society who doesn't want to let her in. I think I talked about this in either my September or August wrap-up. I think September. It's been a while. We don't need to go into thoughts here because again, it's just a haul. And then another book which I will be talking about in my October wrap-up, I have The Hollow Heart by Marie Rutowski. This is the sequel and final book in the Midnight Lies series, which is a spin-off series of the Winter's Curse trilogy. And this is following a new cast of characters 20 years in the future on this mysterious island where they have a very strict caste system, but where there's something magical going on behind the scenes. And it's our main character, Nareem, kind of figuring out stuff about the city and about herself and falling in love possibly with this new traveling rogue. And then finishing off the YA category of books I will be talking about in this month wrap-up, I have The Marrow, Thieves by Shelley Malin. And this is a post-apocalyptic dystopian series about a young man who is on the run from the government because in this dystopian world, everybody has lost the ability to dreams except Indigenous people, and the government are taking Indigenous people and children and sucking their bone marrow away to make dreams and to heal other people. It is obviously very harrowing, but again, I will talk about it later. And then getting into the novel I am currently reading, I have Payback's a Witch, which is a adult romance with a paranormal or magical twist. And basically it's about this young woman who has left home several years ago because of a bad breakup, and to like kind of escape her small town, she has to come back. And oh yeah, she's also a witch, and so is a lot of other people in this town. There's a magical competition. She's falling in love with this girl she thought was always out of her league and dealing with the ex and maybe possibly getting revenge on him. And yeah, it's cute so far. I will talk about it in my wrap-up because I'm almost done. But now, let us get into the pile of books that I have not read. The first book I have on here is Bonds of Brass by Emily Scherzki. Ooh, I have to look up that later. But this is a adult sci-fi series with a male-male love story. I don't know much about it except it was getting buzz when it originally came out. I'm all for queer adult sci-fi, so that's why I'm checking it out. And I picked this up kind of randomly because it was $6 at Book Off when I went there, so yeah. Speaking of books that I got at a discount, I also picked up The Best American Sci-Fi and Fantasy of 2020, edited by Diana Gabaldon, and this is a collection of sci-fi and fantasy stories that were published probably in 2019 to 2020 that were collected because they were good. I'm excited to read this, hopefully find some new authors, maybe meet some old favorites. It was on sale and I'm a sucker for anthologies, so there we go. And then the book I got at the best discount, the discount being free, I have The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Mario Garcia's, which my mother picked up to read as a plain book. She left with me and she thinks I'll like it. I don't really know anything about it. I think it's more fantasy or sci-fi leaning than she originally thought. I think she thought it was more historical fiction, but she liked it and she thinks I will like it, so I'm intrigued. Some other books I picked up and hope to read soon. I have The Lesson by Cadwell Turnbull, and this is a first encounter sci-fi alien story. This takes place in the US Virgin Islands, and it's basically like aliens making first contact with them. Be interested in this, especially just to see a different take on a first encounter story. I also picked up Love Beyond Body, Space and Time, which is a LGBT queer indigenous anthology. This group also released a second anthology, which is kind of a companion, kind of a sequel, which I am very interested in as well, but I wanted to pick up this one first, obviously. I've heard good things about this. I am intrigued. I have just been really into sci-fi recently, especially queer sci-fi, especially POC sci-fi, so I am intrigued to read this and see what I think about it. Another sci-fi book I got was The Truth of the Divine by Lindsay Ellis. This is the sequel to Axiom's End, and this is a first encounter alien sci-fi story, and it is much more like the typical what you would think of when you think of like first encounter sci-fi movie. I'm very excited to read the audiobook of this, which I am waiting for at the library, but it has a whole cast of people that I enjoy watching YouTube videos of, so I'm very excited to listen to them narrate this book. And because of that cast, I know this book is going to be multiple perspectives, whereas the first book I think was just one perspective, so I'm really intrigued to see how this story opens up. Another book I recently picked up was The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, and this is a adult horror novel, and I don't know much more about it than it's horror and people like it. I don't really read horror that much. I'm intrigued to try something, especially something that's not like a Stephen King kind of book. So yes, I'm excited to try out horror, hopefully before the end of the month, because this is a great October read. Another book I bought was She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This was out of stock for like a couple good months, and so when I saw it at Barnes & Noble, I scooped it up because who knows what's gonna happen. But this is an adult Chinese inspired fantasy novel. I think that the main character also dresses up as a man, and I'm always very intrigued by the dress up as a man trope. Sometimes I think it's done very well. By well, I mean it's done very queerly, and sometimes it's done just like in poor taste. So I'm very intrigued to see if this can meet my expectations. But everybody's been loving it. It's been flying off the shelves, so I'm hoping that it'll be good. And finally, I have 3 more books here. And again, it was the discount that got me. These were like on a shelf for like $10 each, and so how could I say no? So we have Out Now, which is a queer anthology. And I know this is an anthology featuring queer characters in the present time. The first anthology, which I'm going to get and read before I read this one, are all queer stories happening in the past, and there is a new one coming out with queer stories set in the future, so I'm very, very excited. And then I also have here The Whole Time by Victor Martine, and this is a translated novel. Besides that, all I know is that it is a queer coming-of-age story, which I love. And then I also have another translated work, which is Where We Go From Here. And again, this is a queer coming-of-age young adult novel, so I had to snap it up because it has been on my list for a while. But yeah, that is my ridiculously long haul video. Way too many books. Luckily, I have read a good chunk of them, but still, too many. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me a book you recently bought or borrowed, a book you're looking forward to reading. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading.